to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
Razbani for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. With me, Jamie Moore. Jamie, I actually forgot that you were going to be here. Yeah, when I saw you, I was like, oh, is that Jamie Moore? Then I realised Rocky Fielding's here, obviously.
The disrespect's real, man.
I'm just being honest, mate.
I'm only joking.
Could easily blag it, mate, but yeah, I'm just being honest.
It is what it is.
How's Bournemouth treating you? It's freezing, isn't it?
You know what, mate? It's freezing, but it's nice. I like it. It's a nice place, and I like that view down there. There was a programme. What was it called?
Bewitched.
Was it what?
Bewitched?
Nah. My missus texted me before, actually. Forgot again. But with the cliffs down there, it's a good programme. But yeah, it's nice, beautiful place. I'm going to come down in summer. It's beautiful. It looks like it'd be like being in Spain.
Oh, it's lovely in the summer. We were here obviously for the last show, and it was amazing.
Work out on the beach, didn't they?
Yeah, no, amazing. Rocky Fielding. He's back. I said to him, it looks like a second coming. He's been relatively quiet over the last couple of years. Obviously, he said he's been waiting for the right dates and the right opponents. But what has he left in him?
Yeah, he's got a lot left. I think, he hasn't been as active as maybe we'd have hoped him to be, but he's not been inactive. He's had a couple of fights in the meantime. I know a lot of fighters have struggled over the last couple of years because of lockdowns behind closed doors and stuff like that. So, but he's been fortunate enough to box a few times, and I think there's positives and negatives to it. So, obviously, that you'd like him to have been a bit busier. But the positives to that is, because of his age, he's less miles on the clock, and he's not been in tough, hard 10, 12 round fights. So he's kept himself relatively fresh. So I'm happy where he is. He's in a real good place.
I spoke to Dan Aziz, and Dan was very respectful and said, look, Rocky's only been beaten by Callum Smith and Canelo. He hasn't lost to anybody else, and he's expecting the very best Rocky Fielding. What have you seen in the gym to kind of thrive you and convince you that he's still got a lot left?
Well, for the start, the way he's been sparring brilliant. I understand from Dan Aziz's side, they've probably looked at it and gone, we'll get him at the right time, he's getting on a bit, and he's only lost to the best, so then we can add our name to that. But it's a big mistake if they think that Rocky's past it, because he's, I've always said this, Rocky punches so hard, his record doesn't actually do him justice. When you look at the sort of amount of knockouts he's got, and as soon as Rocky mentioned it to me, stylistically I said, this is made for you, because I've got a lot of respect for Dan. He's a good fighter, but the way he goes about his job sort of plays into your hands. So I said, I hope he gets made this, because at your stage of your career, it catapults you into a position where you've got so many big fights at light heavyweight. And then a couple of weeks later, the fight was made, and here we are today.
What have you seen of Dan Aziz, and what threat does he pose to Rocky?
I like him. I was watching him. I was a fan of his style, Marvin Hagler. I love that sort of style. But like I say, that plays into Rocky's hands in terms of style and stuff like that. He's actually coming down here now, Dan Aziz. He's going to burgle me interview. I can see him coming now. He's getting followed by his team. So, but yeah, we're really confident.
Really confident.
Just be quiet, yeah? Quiet now.
Can Rocky still...
Yeah, he can get straight through there, yeah.
Can Rocky still be a player in the light heavyweight division?
100%. 100%. He's not finished by any stretch of the imagination. And like I say, in an ideal world, would we have wanted him to be active and stuff like that? Of course we would. But it just felt right. Rocky was in the gym, which is a tough thing to ask a 34, 35-year-old who's been around the block so many times, to get them sort of ticking over in the gym, to have a base for when they start training is half the problem. And he was in the gym, so it sort of felt right in terms of the right place at the right time. And I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And I said to him, these opportunities don't come around every day. Does it feel right? He said, yeah, I fancy it. And I said, let's do it then. Let's do it.
Let's stick with the light heavyweight division. Obviously, Anthony Artaxon, Artur Beterbiev, everyone's saying that Artur Beterbiev is obviously 38 years of age. He's obviously, everyone he's beaten, he's knocked out. But we are yet to see signs of him deteriorate at that age. How do you see that fight playing out?
That timing's everything. And Beterbiev is such a good fighter. But Father Time catches up with everyone. And we have seen him hurt over the years. You know, he's been down a few times. So he has got that vulnerability about him. And Anthony Yard could just get this right. The timing of it could be right. You know, obviously Beterbiev's going to be the favourite. But I really think he's got a bigger chance than many people are giving him credit for. You know, he's a solid fighter, Anthony Yard. He can punch. Defensively, he's very good. And like I say, I think he could be getting Beterbiev at the right time.
Callum Smith awaits the winner. I know there's been talks about... I asked Callum Smith a couple of weeks ago, you know, why don't you fight Buatsi? Why wait another 7-8 months for the winner when you haven't fought yourself really anyone of a notable name? So why don't you fight Buatsi? And tell her, if the offer was right, I will. But it looks like Lyndon Alpha's name's been mentioned recently. But it's just a problem with boxing. Sometimes we know the world titles come, but if you really think you're that good, just jump in and fight the next best person.
Of course it is. The problem you've got is it's also a business. And I know that fighters want to fight the best fighters from that competitive. The reason why we're doing this sport in the first place is that competitive instinct. If you ask any of the fighters, they're all, in a way, stupid enough to go straight away, yeah, no problem, I'll fight him. No, and they do it for nothing. But as soon as the manager and the trainer, the logical thinkers go, come on now, this is a big fight, you need to make sure you get paid right for it. And then that's when you start with the problems. So, but, you know, there's enough money in this sport to go around, and the fighters who were willing enough to take fights like that should be well paid for it. Callum Smith versus Buatsi is a phenomenal fight. Phenomenal fight. And I don't understand the thinking behind going, well, let's make sure it's for a title. Because it's a phenomenal fight anyway. You know, I when I was boxing myself, I went through that era of Sky wanted to make sure there was a title on the line for the person who's the top of the bill. And I was always having an argument because I was classed as a fighter who could top the bill, and I was going, listen, in America, you've got Gatti Ward topping the bill and no title on the line, 10-rounder, because it's a good fight. You know, so for instance, if I had a rematch with Macklin, why couldn't that top the bill if no title on the line? So these was my arguments at the time. I still believe that to this day. That you shouldn't need a title on the line. The fight should be the seller of the top of the bill, not because it's for a title. Callum Smith versus Buatsi is such a good fight, it should be made tomorrow. Okay, let's make sure it's an eliminator so that the winner has got the carrot dangled and go, okay, you win that, then you're going to fight for the world title, which I'm pretty sure it would, and it's 99% guaranteed. Any governing body would give that tag and get it made. And that's why, in many ways, Rocky is here this weekend, because this fight got offered to him and he said, you know what, I beat Aziz, I'm right up there in the mix with all them lot as well. So that's why we're here.
How's Jack in the gym? Jack Catterall?
Good. Always in the gym, always ticking over. And it looks like early March, fingers crossed. You know, it's been dragged on a little bit, but it looks like everyone's on the same page now. And it's going to be announced, hopefully, next week for early March.
Scotland or Manchester?
I don't care. I'm here in Scotland, but like I say, it's all rumours and hearsay at the minute. I'm here in Scotland, but I really don't care because in many ways the judges will be under more scrutiny this time, whether it's in Manchester or Scotland, because of what happened in the first fight. So I don't care where it is. I'm not even going to focus on the judging or where it is, because it's irrelevant. Once you're in there, it's a boxing ring and that's it.
Jim, I know there's a lot of back and forth at the time between both camps, etc. He could have walked away and taken care of his mandatory. He decided to give a couple of belts up. Yep. So are you pleased that, you know, there's a bit of respect there from Josh Taylor to say, you know what, let's put this right?
Of course, and I don't even think you could narrow it down to him it being a respect thing. He's literally, Josh is a fighter by nature. He didn't like the backlash, which understandably your pride, your ego's dented, and he's gone, I need to put that right. I can't have people, you know, phenomenal fighter, and his achievements in so little fights is unbelievable. So for him to then be in a position where he's thinking, I'm going to be remembered for a controversial decision rather than what I've achieved. I need to put that right. So I get the mindset of the thinking, but he could have walked away. But I don't think he'd have had the respect from his peers or from the boxing fans in general, and he would have always had that sort of cloud over him. So from his point of view, it was the right thing to do, I think, for him, and I think obviously for us it was the right thing to do because we deserved the fight. We deserved the fight the first time around, and hopefully we can put that wrong or right. I know we're going to get a better Josh Taylor, without a doubt, because he'll be so fired up and determined because he's that type of character. But I know we'll get a better Catterall as well, because Jack hadn't boxed for 17 months the first time, and so you can't be at your pinnacle when you've had sort of that much inactivity. The best thing about Jack is he's always in the gym.
What about the fact that he's obviously changed trainers now? I know you say he'll be at his best, but as a trainer, is one camp sufficient to understand the ideas of your new trainer and undo everything else that you know?
Everything has got positives and negatives, and it could be a negative in moving trainers. It could be a positive because you've got that placebo effect. We won't know. But one thing I do know is, regardless of who trains Josh Taylor, he's still a phenomenal fighter. You know, when you get to that stage and you've achieved what he has, you can basically train yourself. I know Joe McCanally is a very good trainer though, so he'll have a good insight. He knows his boxing inside out, so he'll definitely add something to him. But fighters and coaches, relationships matter more than the actual knowledge in the brain, I believe, and whether they'll gel together properly or not is yet to be seen. But I don't really concern myself with Josh or with Dan Aziz or anybody else. The opponents to me are irrelevant. As I'm a big believer in get my fighter ready, give him the right instruction, get him in the right frame of mind, and then everything should take care of itself.
Just a couple of quick fire ones. Anthony Joshua, it looks like he will be changing trainers again. He was out there training with Virgil Hunter, images with him with Derek James as well. Potentially his next fight, he would have had 3 different trainers for the last 3 fights. Yeah. Is that too much change in such a short period of time?
Yeah. If you're asking me my personal opinion, I think it is. But I also think I understand his reasoning behind it, where he's saying, he's going out there and he's getting as much experience and education as he can. I just believe he's got enough experience, enough education. He knows enough about boxing. He just needs to now go in there and let it flow and implement it. He needs a dance partner in a sense, in terms of a coach who can who he can relate to, who he can gel with, and who can allow him to bring the best out of himself. Because I think he's got it all in there. I just think he's hesitating and thinking about it too much, and then he's missed his opportunity. And if he gets someone who he can work alongside and let that flow out of him, then that'd be the best way. I don't know whether it's in America, Australia, India, Britain, it don't matter. I think he's got it all in himself. He just needs someone to bring it out of him.
Finally, Conor Benn made a statement this week. I'm sure you saw it on social media. Eddie Hearn's a number of interviews where he seems very confident. From Conor's statement, it seems like they feel very confident that he's going to be innocent and not be suspended, will be allowed to resume his career, whichever license he goes, but whether he goes abroad to a different country. Just the whole reaction to the statement and not knowing the facts from the outside for us, the public.
Exactly. So I don't know the facts, and until they release the information what they're saying they've got, then I don't know. But if we're going off the facts what we haven't got at the moment, the facts are he's failed 2 tests for the same thing, and if they're going to go against it and say, well, that's not right, then what's the point in testing? VADA testing is the most stringent testing in the world. If every time someone fails a test we're going to have people getting third opinions or opinions from different doctors to try and condone why, then what's the point in testing? There's really no point. So I'm interested. I'm gutted about it. I'll really be honest with you, because I love Conor Benn. He's a great lad, and his dad was a hero of mine growing up. I'm gutted about it, but I'm being honest. Like, I just don't understand until they come out with these reasons, what they're saying. Then I just don't understand how.
Jamie, there are a number of other questions, but I'm going to reserve them for probably Friday or Saturday when I see you next. I know Rocky's been waiting in the cold. He's got his hood on now as well, probably his gloves and scarf.
Stay warm.
Appreciate your time, and we'll catch up in a couple of days. Jamie Moore, IFL TV, thank you very much.
I'm going to share something with you that might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely completely different ball game.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.